income from growing. I would say it was too much government. It was too much regulation. It was too much taxes. We didn't have enough savings.
Every dollar of economic growth that happened in the 2000 period went to the top 2% of the population.
But it wasn't real growth. It was all phony.
Where was the real growth? GDP over the period, and it all went to the top 2% of the population, every dime of it.
Well, I disagree. I know that a lot of the wealth that was accumulated during that time period was accumulated by wealthy people on Wall Street who were able to get that money because they had access to the cheap money supplied by the Federal Reserve. I certainly wasn't in favor of that. I wasn't in favor of enriching bankers at the expense of working Americans. But the way to enrich working Americans isn't to tax the hell out of their employers. It's not to take capital out of the economy. I mean, going back to your basic premise that if you tax rich people, take their money and spend it, that it's going to grow the economy. When you take money away from somebody who's wealthy, somebody who's not simply going to spend everything that they earn, what you're doing is you're diminishing the money he has to invest in growing a business, to hiring people, to producing products. So you're directly diminishing economic growth and employment opportunities. I mean, why would you want to tax investment? Why would you want to tax job creation, company formation? Why would you want to stifle that?
Job creation is about having people have money in their pocket. Economies that expand over long periods of time have high wages and growing wages, have widely shared economic prosperity. In the period between the late 30s and the mid 1970s, we experienced a collapse in the difference between rich people and poor people in the United States. It was unparalleled.
But what gives the money value? You're saying people have money in their pocket, but what gives that money value?
Value is productivity.
Right, so we have to produce.
We have to produce goods and services. The question is, what incents employers and manufacturers and so on to create more labor-saving devices to invest in productivity, not low wages, high wages? What gives people the ability to demand product over the long haul? It's having high wages.
No, but what gives them? But you're missing the point. What gives them the ability to earn high wages is that they're productive themselves. They are supplying something. They have to be able to produce.
Absolutely. And that is
and what makes labor productive
between the rich and middle class. If we continue to have this war on the middle class, we're going to kill the goose that lays the golden egg in the United States.
Well, the goose that lays the golden egg is not the consumer; it's the producer, it's the entrepreneur.
See, on that I completely disagree. It is people who have money in their pockets to buy that incents people to produce.
No, how does that money get into their pocket in the first place?
Well, for one thing, that labor unions can demand a larger percentage of the total result of productivity.
Okay, but where did that productivity come from? Where does an employee get his job in the first place?
The activity of human beings, the productive
activity. No, but let me ask you, okay, how many people do you employ?
I personally?
Yes.
I personally employ at any given time right now 5 or 6 in middle of political campaigns, several hundred. Why?
All right, so you employ people. Now, what motivated you to hire those people?
What motivates me to hire people is in the purely economic sense, that those people can be useful at producing the outcomes that I sell to people.
Right, but you're taking the risk, right? You're writing them a paycheck.
You bet you.
Right.
Bet.
So without you taking that risk and providing them with capital, they would have no jobs.
Well, that's all true. But
right.
But here's the key, my friend. If there was nobody out there to demand my services of my firm, I wouldn't hire any of them.
but then you would have to do something else. If you're not going to provide services for which there's no demand. But everybody wants things. I mean, people want all sorts of things, right? But what gives them the ability to afford them is productivity. And what enables people to have jobs is that somebody else provides them with the capital. Somebody else provides them with the paycheck. Somebody else takes an economic risk that they are unwilling or incapable of taking on their own.
You know what, Peter? At the close of the Bush administration, we had a $3 trillion deficit in demand in this economy. There's $3 trillion less demand than we had capacity to produce.
The demand is infinite. There's no shortage of demand. What there's a shortage of is supply.
Well, there's a shortage of economic demand, of people who had money in their pockets to buy product.
So what if the government just printed money and gave it to everybody? Would that solve the problem?
But what would solve a recession is what we know from Keynesian economics.
All right, hold on one second. Hold your thought. We'll pick this up after the break. Don't go away.
You bet, Peter.
Peter Schiff Show. Since the Peter Schiff Show was last on the air, the national debt added another $7.89 million. Luckily, Peter's intelligence is growing twice as fast.
That's incredible.
Welcome back to your source of sanity in an insane world. It's the Peter Schiff Show.
Welcome back, everybody. You're listening to a lively discussion with myself, Peter Schiff, and Robert Creamer. We are talking taxes, economics, Keynesianism. And, Bob, before I get back to what we spoke about right before the break about what the Keynesian solutions what you think they are to the crisis, I want to just ask you a question, first of all, on, you think that we should have higher taxes on the rich. Well, right now, the marginal federal tax rate is 38%. It's 35% plus 3% of Medicare. So it's 38%. It's going to rise to 42% if the Bush tax cuts expire. And so that's 42%. Most people, I live in the state of Connecticut, I'm paying 6.5% state income tax. It's probably going to go up. So right now, I'm already set to pay about 50% of my income in taxes at the current rates. I mean, is that enough, or you think I need to be taxed more than that?
Wait a second. This is only for people who make over $250,000 a year. This is for the top 2% of the population.
All right, yes. Well, $250,000 is it's not that much money, but yes, I make more than that. So
let's remember this. We're talking about returning for the wealthy in the United States to a situation that is better than it was during the Clinton administration.
Well, no, but I'm not asking. My question to you.
You still get a tax deduction.
No,
you still get the same tax cut up to the $250,000.
No. You're missing my point. I'm just asking you, what should the marginal tax rate be, in your opinion, on the rich? What would be optimal for you?
Well, I think there are two questions. One is what you should have in terms of the current tax rates on ordinary income. And in that context, I would say right now the rates that were present during the Clinton administration, where we had a really good economy. It didn't stifle anything.
Okay, so you think that's optimal then? Let me finish. So you don't want to go any higher than they were under Clinton. You think Clinton had it just right?
No. I wouldn't say that, because what I'm going to say is something else. I think also that that investment income should be taxed at the same rate as ordinary income. That working people have no reason to pay more of their tax.
All right, I'm not going to argue that point, because I think that I don't think we should have any tax on income, whether it's investment or wages. I don't think we should pay taxes on wages either, rich or poor. So I'm not going to argue that point. But as far as the marginal rate, right? The marginal rate of tax on earned income. I work for a living. I earn money, okay? I go out there. I have a business. I employ people. I generate a profit for myself. What tax rate should I pay on the profit that I earn running my business?
I think the tax rates that were present during the Clinton administration have proven to be reasonably good balances between ways to fund our government.
So that means that you think that I should pay about 50% of my income in tax.
Now, wait a second. I mean, you're not counting the fact that up to $250,000 in income.
Yeah, but that's a minute percentage. That's a minute percentage of my income. All right. So
congratulations. That's a good thing.
Well, all right. Well, I work hard. Okay, and I worked hard all my life.
You probably could afford to pay more. Yes.
Well, but just because I can afford it doesn't. If you see a wealthy man on the street, doesn't mean you should steal from him because he can afford it. Right,
no, but it does mean that people who have profited have benefited.
Yeah, but I didn't benefit out of luck. I benefited out of my own hard work.
Paying more.
Well, why? Why?
Because they benefit from the overall store of wealth created by our society.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Just by something they do that.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question. I employ over 100 people. Don't they benefit? I have over 15,000 clients. Don't they benefit? I would argue that I create far more benefits for more people than I enjoy myself. And I would say that's true of all entrepreneurs. Even though they make a lot of money, society benefits a lot more from their efforts than they do. They don't need to be punished. They need to be rewarded. They need to be congratulated for what they've done, not penalized.
You know what? All I know is that the difference between the top 1-2% of the population in income and most Americans has grown to a level now higher than
I agree. That's bad, but it's because of
fundamentally bad for the economy.
Yes, but you have to understand why that's so. It's because of the destructive nature of our tax code. It's because of the Federal Reserve. It's because of all these big government Keynesian policies that we've pursued that have hurt the middle class, that have hurt the poor. Simply taking money from the rich and redistributing it around isn't going to change anything. You're not going to redistribute wealth. You're simply going to redistribute poverty.
Well, frankly, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the financial sector, taken as a whole, is a growing cancer on society. That it
on that we agree.
Percentage of the GDP.
We got to take a break. I'd love to have you on for the next hour, but I agree 100%. That is the problem, and that is being fed by the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is bailing out Wall Street. I wanted all those banks to fail. I want the financial sector to shrink because it is a parasite on our economy. It is a problem, but not for the reasons that you think. But stick around.
The Peter Schiff Show.